All right, gentlemen,
Oh, here we go.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Wenham's Planning Board to order on Thursday night, September 12th, 2024. We are meeting in the Wenham Town Hall first floor meeting room, and also there are many people on Zoom tonight. We're being recorded, I believe, by HWCam, and hopefully the technology will hold. It usually does, so I'm appreciating that. If you have an item that you wish to speak to and you are on the Zoom call, I would ask you please to put your hand up in order to speak, and we will call on you. Not right this second, but as your item comes up. I think the first item on our agenda is a continued public hearing on 47 Maple Street definitive subdivision. And I know we've had a lot of material come in the last couple of days. Certainly, we have had one report from the police department come in the last 24 hours.
So we were waiting for the applicant to submit a response to the peer reviewer from our last meeting. But in the interim, they have sent a slightly revised plan, and they asked for some comments from the building inspector on that. So Bob Griffin is here tonight just to tell you about that. So we do not have a response to the peer review report yet.
Okay, so in any event, when we get to the end of this presentation, I think we're looking for a motion to continue to the next time we're together.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I don't mean to preempt Mr. Griffin, but what is the purpose of the presentation?
Well, I'd like to show you some plan revisions that we're contemplating and that we expect to file with you in time for the next meeting.
Does that, do we need to, I mean, is there a value to hear that tonight in the sense of, no disrespect, in the sense of it'll go before the peer review and then we review it? I mean, is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you if you want to hear them. And there was a slight change in the frontage on a couple of the lots. So there was a question with the building inspector, whether those lots would qualify under zoning. And he has told me that they will. So, maybe just a few minutes, I don't think will take long.
We do have quite a lot on the agenda. You're here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a board. You've got an easel. 5 minutes at the pleasure of the board.
5 minutes.
Sounds fair. I really just wanted to give you a little update as well.
Just a heads up. And
Since our last meeting, we have had the opportunity to go out and dig some test pits next to that greenhouse, and we did confirm that the soil conditions where the stormwater system goes are consistent with the other soil test pits we've done on the property, so we're not going to have any issues there. There was also a request that we locate all the trees in the property, so we have located all 100-plus trees in the property. We appreciate everyone coming out for the site walk on the 14th. We did some site distance measurements, and I think the information that we received from the police department yesterday was very helpful. Margaret, I don't know if you can you bring up that?
Can.
I'm going to try to go off of the television screen here, but I do have this printed copy. In case it doesn't work out. So this is really just the aerial photograph showing the plan as filed. And you can see, lot 1 was the existing type of residence, and it goes sort of clockwise around 2, 3, 4. And lot 4 had received some comments at the last hearing and at the site walk about the potential need to lose some trees. And there's some residences, about 60 or 80 feet further back from that location. So what we wanted to do is to see if there was a way to minimize tree loss in that area. And so if we can go to the next slide, please. We've got a slightly different layout of the cul-de-sac.
Hold on, Bob, one minute. Let me just get
Okay, well.
This is a PDF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Okay, good. So, and you can see it's a little straighter than the previous version. It's about, I think, 35 feet shorter. The cul-de-sac lands in pretty much the same place, but a little closer to Maple Street than the previous layout. And you can see that we've put a little jog in the lot 4 lot line, and we've pulled that house further away from the sideline there. Now, the Wenham zoning requirement in this area is 15 feet for a side yard setback or a rear yard setback. That would be a rear yard setback in this particular instance. And so I think, we were at 20 feet before, and we're about 37 feet now, so we're quite a bit over the 15, but you can see that you really wouldn't have to remove any trees to build that house. And so I think that's helpful. I think you'd probably want to do some pruning of the branches as they get towards the deck in the back of the house. But really, the goal was to try to accomplish this. Now, there's a funny shape to the Lot 4 lot line. If you follow the lot line as it gets to the cul-de-sac, you can see there's sort of a narrow strip, and it's really right in front of the house on Lot 4. So we would suggest a landscaping easement that would allow the Lot 4 owner to, landscape that little strip so it looks sort of like their land. It doesn't have to be an exclusive use area necessarily, but I think that would just help keep the cul-de-sac looking the way you would expect it to. So because the lot line was a little bit unusual shaped in that area, we wanted the building inspector to have an opportunity to weigh in on this. He asked us to provide some calculations of lot width. We did that. And again, we believe this meets the zoning requirements, as does the building inspector as well. So let's just go to the next slide, please. This just sort of shows, again, the original layout. The dotted line is the setback, with the front yard, side yard setback. And then if we go to the next slide, we'll see the current layout. Yeah, there's the funny, oh, I'm sorry, that's the new one. Oh, no, did you advance it?
That's the new
That's
one.
the new one?
All right, so that's the new one, and you can see there's this little area that says excluded area. Wenham has a zoning provision that says that, if the sidelines or if two lot lines are within 50 feet of each other and the perimeter is less than X number of feet, then you don't get to count that towards lot area. And in the case of Lot 3, we have two sort of triangular shaped areas that are excluded. But despite this exclusion, we still have sufficient area in Lot 3 and sufficient frontage in all the lots. You can see that the cul-de-sac is a little closer to the existing type of residence than we had in the old layout. And if we advance the slide a little bit, you can see that here's the old layout, and you can see the infiltration system was sort of between the cul-de-sac and the lot line. And now if we go to the next slide, you can see the infiltration system is sort of below the cul-de-sac. So that's really the change that we've wanted to show. I think it's an improvement to the plan. I think it does a better job of protecting, the pines that are in that area, and achieves the screening that some of the neighbors wanted. And I think we might have an aerial photograph of this as well. Oh no,
I think it's
that was the beginning. I'm sorry. So
we've got, I'm just giving you a couple minute
Okay.
warning.
So well, anyways, that's sort of the gist of what we wanted to present. We do have a letter ready to go to the peer reviewer, and assuming you guys don't have any objection to this is the direction we'd like to go in.
Well, I don't think we're prepared to say that
All right.
tonight. I think we'd like to see, the next round and have the peer review comments come back. And
Any thoughts or complaints or concerns?
I think we're just being presented with this. We had asked for materials a lot earlier. I've said it's okay for you to speak because you're here.
Okay.
It's a discussion we probably should have about whether or not we should tell applicants to come if they're not really ready. So,
Well.
appreciate it.
I will say, we appreciate you addressing the concerns of the neighbors, and I
Yes,
understand the intent of this
definitely.
is to preserve the tree line, and I think that's a good change.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate your willingness to come in with it and give us the update. I just don't want to give you any false impression that we've had a chance to absorb this and have any comments back to you.
No, of course not. So there was one piece of information that came in from the police department as well, though, and it pertained to the question that came up at the site walk regarding
Location
reverting
of the
back to the
drive.
original driveway location or keep the location shown on this plan.
Right.
And I think the police officer's opinion was that this location is preferable.
Right.
And so that would be our intention as well, is to
Hey.
keep it at this location.
There was some caveats to that.
Additional caveats about
Removing the berm.
removing the berm and the
Absolutely, yeah.
rock.
I think that was part of the plan anyways, but we'll make sure that the plan makes that clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Thank you
you.
very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So the next meeting is October 10th. And Bob, do you mind, I just wanted to ask if
He's gotta put
your
his-
time frame.
down.
So we want to make sure that I have everything ready for you by October 3rd. That means peer review responses, everything ready to go. So, because after October 3rd, I don't want to take anything else. So if it's not there on October 3rd, you won't be seeing it on the 10th. I mean, do you think you can do that time frame
So
by October 3rd?
you want the documents into you by October 3rd?
I want your peer review response to him next week.
Yeah.
So that, in this new plan, next week, so that he has time to review it the following week, which would be the week of the 23rd, and then we can get that back early in the week of October 1st.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to be a problem. As I
Think
said,
so?
we've got our response pretty well drafted, and we'll make sure he gets it next week.
Okay.
Thank you. We know there was a holiday in the middle there, but.
Is there a
yes, we-
holiday?
Well, we did have Labor Day between,
Oh, that, yes, yep,
so
sure.
appreciate that, all of this and the update. I think we need to move to the next item on the agenda. Do we need to ask for a continuance?
Yeah, you want to vote to continue.
So I need a motion to continue the public hearing.
Bob, you send me a letter.
Sure.
Peter?
Continue the public hearing
Until just October 10th
till October 10th.
at 7 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Anderson,
Thank you very much, Bob.
Great, thank you all. Good night.
All right. The next item on the administrative agenda is the master plan implementation presentation that I think, Kate, you gave to the select board
Yes,
and you would like to give to us. We're
yes.
really interested to see it.
Kate,
Yeah.
let me,
But I just need permission to share my screen, please.
allowed to multi-pin record, rename, oh, make host. I'm going to make you the host, okay?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And then you'll give it back to me afterwards.
I sure will.
Unless you want to stay with us and keep being the host.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for having me today. As you all know, that you guys accepted the master plan, and it is a wonderful plan, if I do say so. And so we are looking now towards implementing the plan, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick update of what has been going on. So I know you guys already know all this, but the major thing is there are 105 strategies that we need to get through within the next 10 years to really accomplish this vision of Wenham. And so I think the biggest thing for us is to make sure that we're really coordinating with all departments, all boards and committees, residents, keeping residents involved and updated on what's going on, and the select board as well. So when I was really looking at this master plan, there's so much to it, and I wanted to try to break it down a little bit more for my brain to kind of get around this. So we know we have the 5 core themes, and so I created, this quick little vision board of the words that I really saw the most. Economic development, communication, I saw that a lot. Protecting nature, conserving, walkability, bikeability, like all these different things. So it was really interesting to see the way that the community really wants to move forward.
Kate, can I ask a question about that slide?
Absolutely.
Sometimes when I see these, because we do them at my office too, when we do polling and things, the most common words are larger than the less common words that as they show up. That doesn't appear to be how this is here, unless what this slide should say to me is that they were all about the same. So I'm just curious, you didn't do that kind of the most used or the most referenced goal was X. This is just what was in there sort of by category, right?
Yep. I can tell you what I really saw was keeping that history piece. Green community conservation, creating more connection in town, walkability, bikeability, and the housing. I really saw a lot, diverse housing. The economic development, I thought I'd see in there more, but I think because of the Cambridge Econometrics study and how that came back into play, it wasn't involved as much, but I think still a very important piece.
Thank you.
So those were kind of the biggest pieces there. So J.M. Goldson, with the input from the Master Plan Committee, came up with a really great action plan for us, which with each strategy had, town departments supporting boards and committees and funding sources. So a lot of great information. And so again, there were 105 of these lines, and, kind of where do we start was where I was going in my brain. And so I broke it down even more, really thinking about how to get this going. So is each strategy actually even feasible? Would the effort taken to do it actually have any real impact in the town? Should we do it now? Should we do it later? So timing, and do we even have funding for it now?
Margaret?
So what I thought was really awesome is there are already 18 of these 105 in progress right now. So we have the new sustainability committee, and they're actually working right now with Bentley University, a classroom from Bentley, to get our greenhouse gas emission baseline. So that's something that's coming soon. I've been working with Select, which is a company that does the ground mount solar arrays at Iron Rail. If we get this through, which I really think we know that we can get this through, but there are other areas for this property space in Iron Rail, so we'll see what happens. But if we could get this through, 60% of our current municipal load would be, we'd have a stable price for that for the next 25 years, and we'd also save like $100,000. Core theme 3, we already have a bunch of stuff there. West Wenham Park, we all know that that's going on, and that bid is actually going, the bids should be coming in for that October 2nd, so that's hitting the paper soon. And we have the branding being done courtesy of CPC funding, the signage for the branding being done for CPC funding. So we'll have at Reynolds Farm in West Wenham Park, we'll have signage there. And so the Open Space Committee asked CPC for funding for that last year. So that's where that's coming from. All right, and this is where you guys are really involved. 18 of the 105 changes involved zoning changes. And so you guys are already doing 5 of them. So you're looking right now at your subdivision rules and regulations. We all know that 3A is going on, and we know that you'll have to be looking at ADUs soon. So I predict in the future you guys will be working along with the select board and other boards and committees a lot on these different zoning changes and figuring out how we should go from there.
Could I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
How will we get them? I mean, how will we know we have to work on them? Will these bubble up from boards and committees? Will you give us a list and say, okay, these are what you got to work on? Do we need to have a representative that would be engaged with you to find that out?
Yep. So I already have the list, which I am happy to send to you. You're not going to be able to really see it so small here, but the ones highlighted in yellow are what you guys are currently doing, and there are other ones that are already here. But what we plan to do with this rollout is create task forces. So, and we're still trying to figure out exactly how to go through this, but we would first engage the select board, which we did. The select board, with what we have gone through so far, seems happy with it. And then when we start rolling things out, then we'd be engaging the boards and committees and looking at each thing that we need to implement. So with the zoning stuff, it would be the planning board would be engaged first, and we'd be going through all of it together.
Thank you.
Yep. So when I did, the ranking of the 105, J.M. Golson did the ranking. I did a separate ranking. I combined all the information together, and I do have a spreadsheet with all that information that if you were not given it, I don't remember if I gave it to Margaret or not, but I'm happy to send it to you guys. Basically, thinking of that vision board, thinking of the master plan, there were 3 different categories that really stuck out to me. One was connecting Wenham Street Network I think there's something like 18 different strategies that just specifically talk about some sort of way of connecting the town better. Economic development and housing was a big category. And then everybody always was talking about having a town center. So really, what would that look like, and what are the capabilities there?
Kate,
So,
the
go ahead.
The term Wenham Village, what is that referring to?
Okay, so I had to ask that too.
I mean, is it different from town center?
Yeah, Margaret, you might be able to explain this better than I can. The Wenham
here.
Museum,
Yeah, the museum, tea
WVIS,
house,
the church, the little
church.
playground area. I guess they've named themselves Wenham Village.
And
As opposed to town center.
what's
Yes.
Then
how
the
is it-
town
how
center
is it
would be
different from
including the
town
cheese
center?
shop,
It's on the other side. of
you
the
know.
Wenham Village
doesn't
sounds
include-
a lot more inviting than town center.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if they're two different
Two of
places.
them,
That's
or
all.
are they one place that is
Well, the,
called
the center really includes the police and fire, the post office, and those couple of
And those
shops.
are not charming enough to be called the village?
Okay.
It just
Yeah.
seems like in a downtown area this small, we should
Wait
have
till
one
Stephen
name.
and
And
Kevin
the
get
village actually encompasses more of the businesses, because the tea house and the museum, and there's I think a jeweler over there. They kind of feel themselves as a bit of a village with the church.
And those are all
That's fine.
things that we should be looking at, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
is that the right area for a town center? Is there another area for a town center that might have more of the infrastructure in place? I mean, there's tons of questions that we could do and look into. And it's something that people really liked. And it would go in, obviously, with connecting the street network. We'd want to connect the town center and make it more walkable and bikeable. So this one's really exciting. This is the first one, the first category, connecting Wenham streets. As you can see, there would be, the TA's office and land use would kind of lead this, but then we would have DPW, police, water helping with it. Planning board would need to help, conservation, open space, maybe some other boards and committees. But there's this program called Complete Streets, and it's 3-tiered. It's through the state of Massachusetts, and the grant cycle is actually starting this fall. So we can get in through tier 1 this fall. And then basically what it is you create a plan. So you can get up to $38,000 to create this plan of how we want the streets to look in Wenham. Do we need to calm traffic in some areas? Are there areas where people are speeding and it's not safe for the kids? Are there areas in town that we can connect? One of my dreams would be 212 Topsfield Road, that beautiful farm. I think it's called Chicken Hill Farm or the Angelini Farm. I always find that it's very difficult for people to get down to the rail trail. What if we could get some access through the Angelini Farm? There are state programs that help with that as well. And there are different areas in town, as I've been walking through town, as I've been talking to other residents, that there may be great places to connect more of the town together. And there's this saying there, one of the strategies is called the Blue Zone strategy. And one of their things is making the healthy choice the easy choice. So, connecting, the Cedar Pond area, connecting the library a little bit better, making the streets safer, can all be done through this program. And we can get up to $500,000 for construction if we go through these 3 tiers.
Kate, I have a question about that.
So that's one that's fantastic. That has 17, I think, of the strategies are included in that, and that would be something that we'd get a task force together, go through this process, figure out this prioritization plan, and go into construction within the next couple of years.
Kate, question.
Yes.
Is that $500,000 in infrastructure funding through the state one of the programs that you don't have access to if you're not in compliance with 3A?
No, not yet.
And you're sure?
I looked it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So the next one, we all know the economic development and housing are huge. And the master plan does mention about diversifying housing. How would we do that? Do we try to develop, do we do mixed use? Another big project for the planning department. This one, I toyed with the idea of maybe creating some sort of temporary economic development committee with it. Not 100% sure yet how we go about that. Also, we would need for this definitely to do some sort of strategy plan. We would need more funding for that, whether that's capital funding in the budget or we start looking simultaneously for grants. So that would be a great one. And there's maybe 10 or 12 of the strategies would encompass this right here. And then the last one is the town center. So my suggestion would be doing some sort of vibrancy plan there, really, getting engineers and designers involved in figuring out, there is another thing in my brain that maybe there would be a possibility of purchasing part of the Haley property and connecting a downtown area down there. I am wildly just throwing that out, but it's worth looking into and studying where we would have a town center and what are the capabilities and how to connect it to the rest of the town. So if we already have a bunch of strategies going, we've got these 3 options happening. I know for sure that I'm going to start doing the complete streets. That starts this fall, and I can get that going, and then we'll start with the implementation. With the plan for that, probably sometime next year. I think we would have to apply by April 2024 for that. So this spreadsheet right here, which I will send you all, will show you each category and the idea, and then all the different strategies. You can also see how I ranked the strategies. And then also the information that our consultants gave us with each strategy. So you can kind of look and see, these all have to do with the streets one. So I have a spreadsheet with all the tabs that have exactly how I went about doing everything. So you guys can easily read it, and then what we're doing now and moving forward.
Thank you.
So we're just at the beginning stages, but I just wanted to come and talk to you guys about it a little bit. And that's it.
Completely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kate.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Nope.
We have one question from David.
It's more just a
Great.
comment, which I think this is tremendous, and I'm so glad you're doing it, Kate.
Thank you.
And I wish you full wind in your sails and all of ours, because I think it's the right approach. The only thing I would reflect on unsolicited is that I think there's some pending land use questions or changes that are contemplated by the master plan. And so when we think about connecting the streets and kind of bringing it all together, well, let me be more general. I think it might be worthwhile for the town or those guiding the town to consider changes to land use as kind of the threshold question that everything else will follow. So I just put that out there as a concept.
So the zoning changes, is what you're thinking, or?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that it isn't contemplated by what's there, but if Wenham's village is going to be something different, and, the area by the train station is going to be potentially something different in terms of use or other areas, I think how we connect the streets needs to follow that kind of
Right,
vision.
not the other way around.
Right, if we connect things in a way that is inconsistent with how we ultimately envision the highest and best use of land in this town, we've kind of put the cart before the horse.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, thank you.
So I did send you all this in an email. I didn't print all of this out. It was a little bit too much, so
I think we can.
you have it on your last email. But if you need any of this information, let me know and I can resend it.
Thank
Thank you,
Kate.
Mark.
Terrific. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Kate, can you make me host again?
Yeah, I sure can.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
before you leave.
Before you leave.
Do you find it?
I think I just found it. Can you do it now, Margaret?
Actually, you just made HW Cam the host.
Oh, geez.
You want to make,
Town of Wenham?
I think, me.
Yeah, Town of Wenham.
Yeah. Well, I got it. I can reclaim host.
Oh, good.
I've reclaimed
Thank
it.
you.
I've reclaimed my power.
That's good to know. I didn't know you could do that.
I am the host now. Just a big thing popped up. You
We
are
need
the
some
host.
comic relief, thank you.
So the next item on the administrative calendar is Wenham Pines request for bond release.
Yes, okay, so we've got, let me just grab the agenda back up here.
It looks from our agenda packet that there's
Yeah.
a
So Wenham
request
Pines,
to further postpone.
if you want to start with there, Wenham Pines has asked for us to continue, it's not even a continuation or anything, just,
No,
they're
it's
not ready again.
postponing the
So we're still
deliberation.
working with them. They're still working on getting the items complete. The next one is Spring Hill Farm.
Okay. So
That
we
must be, is it Mr. Newman? Are you here for
He
Spring
is.
Hill?
Yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. Would just
And,
identify
Dan
yourself
Willett
so we
should
know
be
who you
there as
are.
well.
Oh, Dan's here, okay.
Yeah, if I may proceed, we requested
identify
a
your-
bond release, and I see that it's on the
Excuse me,
agenda as a bond
excuse me,
reduction.
Mr. Newman,
that-
would you give your full name and affiliation, please, for the record?
Oh, sure. My full name is Marshall Newman. I work for Newman and Newman PC, 1 McKinley Square, Boston. I represent Spring Hill.
Thank you.
And as I was saying, we requested a bond release, and it's on the agenda as a bond reduction. And I can like to explain the difference and tell you why I believe we're entitled to the bond release as opposed to the bond reduction. The original bond was in the amount of $406,000, and it was reduced in October 21 to $153,900, of which $72,700 was to secure the remaining work, and $81,000 was a security deposit, as it were, to make sure that the work was all completed. The additional work has been completed.
I have it on the screen.
There's peer review, and I believe that it's been confirmed that the work is completed. I will say that there's one small exception, which is yesterday, Margaret Hoffman did a site inspection and wrote to Mr. Willett that the sidewalk in front of number 11 Spring Hill Farm Road looked a little bit broken up. So today we went out and got a estimate or quote from Golini Brothers to repair the sidewalk in front of 11 Spring Hill Farm Road for the amount of $3,000. So I don't know how to submit this. I can submit it tomorrow or later today by scanning it in, but as I say, it's $3,000. Other than that, I would suggest that we're entitled to the release of the bond. Now, what happened, we were before the board one other time, and at that time, aside from the question of whether the work had been completed, the board, I believe, took the position that we had not developed Lot 17A into a duplex, and therefore we weren't entitled to the release of the remaining $81,000. I would suggest to you that, first of all, under the terms of the bond, the performance secured by lender's agreement, which is dated October 11, 2018, the purpose of the bond is to make sure that the work is completed. It says that in the 4-page document. There's at least 5 or 6 places where it says that the bond is to ensure the performance of the work. It's to make sure the work has been fully completed. And it says upon completion of the work, it is clear and it's unambiguous that the bond is to secure the work that is on the document which was attached, and the work has been completed. And it says that $81,200 is to be held back until the earlier of 18 months after application of the finished top coat on the roads. And we don't even have to go to B because that happened in October of 2022, which is 24 months ago, not 18 months ago. It's more than 18 months ago. So we're entitled to the release of the $81,200. So I would say that the work has been completed, so we're entitled to the $72,700. And because all of the work has now been completed, we're also entitled to the release of the $81,200, which is the reserve. The board, I believe, took the position at a previous meeting that because the developer did not build a duplex on lot 18, it was not entitled to the release of the reserve. I don't think that that is a correct viewpoint because, first of all, as a matter of interpretation of the performance bond, as I've stated already, that's not the purpose of the bond. It's not to comply with other conditions on the subdivision approval. It's for the construction issues, and it's to secure the construction issues. Secondly, we were not required to build a duplex on the lot. What we were required to do was to, quote, use reasonable efforts to build a duplex on lot 18, which then became lot 17A. And we've documented already that we use reasonable efforts. At the suggestion of Ms. Hoffman, we went to Habitat for Humanity, and they were very happy to take title, and they were going to build a duplex on the lot. And not only did we deed the property to them, but we gave them $40,000 to assist them in the development of duplexes on the lot. So, and that's what I would suggest is compliant with the obligation, quote again, to use reasonable efforts to build a duplex on lot 18. So I would say that not only are we entitled to the release of the bond money based upon the facts and based upon the language of the bond itself, but the basis for holding it back having to do with the duplex on lot 17 is not appropriate. In terms of, we were prepared, I suggest that we have a bid of, like I say, a proposal for $3,000. I would suggest that you hold back maybe 150% of that, or $4,500, and that the rest of the money be released. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to point out that you had used the language fully completed, and fully completed, to my mind, would mean the repair to that sidewalk. So I don't know how the board wants to handle your idea about holding back $6,000.
I said 4,500, but 6,000 is okay.
Oh, I thought you said twice the amount.
150%.
Oh, you said 150%. Okay. Well, in any event, I'm not sure whether that is something that we can entertain. Is there any discussion?
Is there a response from peer review, or?
Yeah, this is the peer review response. He feels that all the construction have been completed, except Dodges Row wetland area was supposed to be cleaned out, but then the DEP came in and
Said no.
no, don't do it.
Right.
There's a few things that will come up during street acceptance, but that's not what we're
Well,
asking for right now.
let's talk about the sidewalk, though, because
Yeah, I went out there today.
That's not on this list.
Right. Well, but I think the sidewalks are part of it. It's also the road work that is to be done. So that's not on this list. This was what was the additional stuff that was left after we released the first portion of it.
Uh-huh.
So the sidewalk I don't know how it got damaged, Dan, whether they were finishing that last house up there, and so there's a big hole in the sidewalk, so they need to fix that area.
Right, and then there's a note on some of these emails. I was just trying to read them. They're very small. On my
They are
printed
so
copy.
small, I know.
There's something about invoices as backup for the sprinkler removals, because I remember that being an issue. That's not related to the sidewalk thing.
No, no, it didn't seem to be. The holes were on the opposite side of the
And you have all the
curb.
documentation you need?
Yep, and I went up there and found that the sprinklers have been removed from the sidewalks, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then, so the question is, are we releasing this $81,000 less $4,500, which is an amount that I haven't finished working on yet. But anyway, I'm interested in people's thoughts. And I know, Mr. Woodland, you particularly are concerned about this lot and the house, the duplex.
I don't see any way forward for us to demand. I'm at the end of this. I just want people to know that it's going to be difficult for Habitat to come back to the town when I believed that duplex was part of their deal, to ask the town now for money to support them building a unit on what I thought should have been done by the developer. So that puts me in an uncomfortable position to go around to tell people, why should we give CPC money for this project when really we're being stiffed, the project. So I don't know if we have any more, any further we can go with.
Leverage.
Yes, with Spring Hill. So I have to take this as a learning opportunity and to make sure that if we ever do a subdivision again, I'm going to watch, and the language is going to be tough.
Very, well, it has to be careful. I think careful is the right word.
A measured term, careful. And I'm a little less measured on that, but I don't have anything. I just want to make sure that the neighbors in the area have been spoken to, and are they comfortable with these? Is that part of what we should be asking? Are the residents okay?
Well, I'm wondering if there's anyone who's remaining online who wants to speak to this. Who's a neighbor? Or someone here, there's a person in the audience. No, there's no issue. This one?
I do have a comment.
And Mr. Anderson has a comment? How about it?
Yeah, so, Mr. Newman, I don't think we had a chance to speak with you last time. I don't recall you coming before the board before. The prior conversation, I don't believe, concerned release or reduction of the bond. It concerned whether there would be movement by the town at the town meeting for acceptance of the street as part of this plan. Contrary to how you framed it, to me, and with all due respect to Mr. Woodland, This language, to me, as I read it, is pretty clear that there's an obligation on the developer to develop the parcel into an affordable housing unit with reasonable efforts to be a duplex. I don't know what the reasonable efforts have been to be made a duplex, but I know for certain that that lot is not has not been developed into an affordable housing unit. That came up in the context of street acceptance. The developer is now in front of us for a bond reduction and has now introduced a concept whether or not the bond reduction and the scope of work includes the development of that parcel, Lot 17, into an affordable housing unit. And frankly, I would like to look at the terms of the bond to see whether or not the term work, as defined in the bond, includes the development of that unit into an affordable housing unit. It's a good point that you've raised tonight, and I think we need to look at it. I don't have that document in front of me. I would encourage you,
I can find
if you're going to ask for a reduction of the bond, in the amount of $75,000 or whatever it is, please submit a letter stating the reasons, attaching the relevant documentation well in advance of the next meeting, and we will review it and have a better position to evaluate the request. I don't think we can do this on the fly over Zoom and properly evaluate this request, particularly if the developer, and I don't know if the two are tied, because last time we only talked about in the context of street acceptance, particularly if the developer is taking the position now that he has exhausted his obligations with respect to Lot 17, which I don't believe is accurate. And I'll just add one more point, which is if work completion is required for release of the bond and the work is not completed, I don't think the bond should be released or reduced.
Fully completed.
And I would just also add, I don't know how William Blaise approached this, but I think that it's a legal question, or it requires some legal input from counsel about what the terms of the bond are.
And the permit.
If I could.
And the permit.
So the bond, we took the bond with a list of items that had to be completed. And it's, a list of construction items.
Punch list.
Yeah. And
So
then
are these not completed?
No, these have been completed. You had a bigger list, then we reduced it. This was the last list that, and these have all been completed except the Dodges Row wetland cleanup. And then there's the problem with the sidewalk right now. That's usually how we base it on. This one you may feel a little different about. But
I think the question is with respect to the language of the permit and how it's, it seems to me the bond and the permit are two separate things.
Absolutely. So the permit, I'm curious, we've looked at
let
the
me see if I
permit,
can, yeah.
but I'm curious about the language of the bond and what the scope of the work as defined in the bond is.
Yep, okay. Let me,
Is it strictly related to construction
Hey,
work, for
there's
example?
absolutely no reason for not authorizing that portion of the bond, which is specified for the items remaining.
Mr. Newman, you know what would be, I want to agree with Mr. Anderson. It would be super helpful if you wrote this out and attached all the relevant documentation so that we could make that judgment.
So let me ask this, Mr. Newman. Let's assume for the moment, which you won't want to do, but let's assume for the moment that I'm right, that Lot 17 does have to be developed to completion by the developer. And let's assume that the developer does in fact assume that responsibility, agrees, and begins development of that parcel. And let's assume that that development does not work out, that it is not done correctly. What would be the recourse of the town? Because the bond would have been released. If the sewer, or if the connection line is done inappropriately, there'll be no bond against construction.
You can proceed against the lot.
Why? What do you mean against the lot?
The lot has value.
So,
So we're going to foreclose against a lot after we possibly inappropriately release the bond before the end of the
It's
construction
not
project?
inappropriate. We're entitled to
Don't
the
see the
release of
town
the bond based upon
going
the
after.
language of the bond.
Mr. Newman, can you write this up into a memo and attach all the relevant material as Mr. Anderson was suggesting and submit it, and we'll look at it in October?
Yes, but.
We'd like to have
but,
all the relevant language in front of us.
If I may say one thing, I just said it, there's two parts to the bond that's remaining. One part is this, I call it a security deposit. The other is corresponds to items of work which have been completed. And there are people who have to get paid for the work that was completed. So I'm just saying that part, which is, I believe, 72,000, less something to be held back for this piece of work on the sidewalk, that should be released right away. And I'm very happy to make a submission on the issue of the Lot 17A and how that ties into the release of the balance of the bond.
The balance of the bond meaning the $81,000.
81,000, yes.
See you on October 10th.
Is that a compromise position that you're willing to accept right now? Or do you want to wait till October 10th?
You mean as opposed to voting on it now?
As opposed to releasing the 72 now and the 81 continued to be held until October 10th when we have the full.
I thought the total amount of the bond was like 81,000.
So no, the total amount is 153,900.
These kinds of details are why it's helpful to have a,
Hasn't this already been reduced?
Yeah, it was
It
reduced.
started out at 406,000. It was reduced in 2000, October 21 from 406
Mr.
to
Newman,
153.
Mr. Newman, we
Can
need
I
to
jump in?
interrupt, and Mr. Pasquarello has something he'd like to say.
I just want to weigh in. I want to echo Mr. Anderson's comments. I feel like we don't have sufficient information in front of us tonight to make this decision. So for one thing, I'd like to see the bond. I'm not, I don't know why we don't have that in the packet, but we don't. And it sounds like the project isn't fully complete, and if we get the information, we can review it and make a decision pretty quickly.
And perhaps it can be fully complete by October 10th with that sidewalk fixed, and then we don't even have to think about that. But I would like a written submission, and I would like it enough time that we have a chance to read it, and it should include the permit and the bond language so that we can evaluate this. None of the members sitting here tonight were on the board at the time the permit was written or the bond was issued. So I just want to make that clear. And we definitely need to have the information in front of us to make the assessment here about what is the right thing to do. So we'd like to see.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that.
I appreciate it.
Say September 26th?
No, I
Submission date?
said October 10th.
Well, that's our next meeting. Can we say it's submitted by September 26th?
Oh, I see, yes. See, we needed a week ahead.
No, 2 weeks
2
ahead.
weeks ahead.
Let's get Margaret's input. We have a week to review before the meeting.
Yeah, please.
Fine.
September 26th.
I mean, Mr. Newman's just given a presentation. I'm sure he can write it up in half an hour.
Yeah, by the
Attach the material and
by
get it to
September
Margaret.
26th,
Thank you. September 26th?
and I'll get all of it
Reasonable?
together for you. I have a lot of the information too, so and I apologize. I was mostly interested in what the peer reviewer had said.
Yeah.
Because we had had all this information
Well, you're not
prior.
asking for the bond to be released. The applicant is asking for the bond to be released, and
Yeah.
so I think some of that burden needs to be on him.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next item is Spring Hill Farm. Oh, no, we've done that.
8-seater.
Sorry, 8-seater. Huh. I forgot to cross one off. Okay, 8-seater, Lily Lane, request
Yeah.
for a lot release.
So we had our peer reviewer go out and get an estimate of work to be done. This is, right now, we have the covenant with them, and we got an estimate of work to be completed, and the developer has agreed to that amount. I just want you to vote to release the covenant in lieu of the bond amount. So we're getting into that again. He's done a lot of the work out there. One of the houses is almost finished being built.
So it looks like there's a bond of approximately $58,000 that they've agreed to.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes, he's agreed. And
is there
then
anyone here
Miranda,
who wants to, online, who wants to speak to this at all?
Miranda Gooding was not able to make the meeting
Okay.
tonight, nor was the developer. So I said I would bring this forward to you.
Okay.
So I move that we grant the lot release, provided that the bond is submitted in the
Posted.
amount of $57,975.
Who, what is a lot release?
So before he can sell these lots, we have to release the lots first so that he can sell them to homeowners, yeah.
Prospective building.
Yep.
Holder. Owners.
Like one of them's it's on the market, you can see it on Zillow now. And in order to sell that, the lot has to be released.
So, this would release both lots?
It will, yeah, we'll release both lots. What we're bonding is the road work again, it's not the house lots, we don't have anything to do with that. It's just the roadway. And this again is going to be a private road, but we still want to hold on to a bond, just in case he should, you know.
So we have a motion and a second. I think we have to vote.
No,
We can't
do.
discuss.
We can discuss the motion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Which is, I think, what's
I didn't know.
happening.
I didn't know that's where we went.
So there are no sidewalks in this development that we have to worry about,
No, this one we waived the sidewalks.
right? And there's no concern about the waste, the rainwater mitigation system? That's not part of this having to be bonded? Like, isn't there a big rainwater mitigation system,
There's a drainage system,
drainage system?
which is it's been put in.
It's been
What-
inspected and it's okay? I mean,
Yep. Our inspectors did go out and made sure everything was done correctly.
I see
Which, yeah.
install inspection ports at
Mhm.
infiltration field. Is that relevant to
Mhm.
the,
Sorry, say again?
this last bucket is
oh, yeah.
install adjust inspection ports at infiltration field. So some of the, it's not fully complete because
Yeah, no, it's not
some
complete.
of that work is
What
being asked to be bonded
Yep.
here.
Bert Corey is our peer reviewer.
And these are the things that he finds need to be bonded.
Yes, and that's the estimate that he gave us for the work to be done.
Thank you.
He did a site inspection to get this?
He did,
Looks
Yeah.
like,
yes.
and there's this observed thickness of pavement binder cores from 1 to 2 inches at roadway. Approved plans require a 3-inch binder.
Mhm.
That's on here.
Mhm.
Do I have a motion? We have a motion
have a
and a
motion on the table.
second. Should we vote on this?
Do it.
All in favor?
Yes.
Woodland, yes.
Anderson, aye.
Yes.
Aye.
In general, Margaret, if you can get them to, the applicants to write up a little memo or something that says,
I will.
here's the basis for these numbers, and, or maybe it's the peer reviewer, I mean, we can figure it out, just would be helpful. It's not fair of us to be asking that of one applicant and not all of them, so,
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you more detail on the next one.
thank you. MBTA communities discussion is the next item. We have a number of emails from people. We've had a joint meeting with Hamilton's Planning Board. We have subsequently had a conversation amongst the selects about what to do. And I don't know, Peter, do you want to tell us about that meeting and what you guys have
Yeah, so
come up
at our
with?
next meeting on September 24th,
Madam Chairman, could I just ask, do we want to take public comment before this section, or
I want to hear about where
Okay,
we
just wanna
are
make sure.
first, and then we can take public comment.
just want to let people know what's going on? That's all.
Yeah. Well, I don't have, this is an administrative docket. I don't have a placeholder here for public comment. It's mostly to let people know what's happening. I'd like to make sure that everybody online and everybody in the room knows what's happening. And at that point, if there's something people are burning to say who are not on the board, I'd like to hear from the board first, then we'll take that. But
Thank you.
before we know where we are, I think it's premature. Peter, and you want to, you need a, yeah.
Okay, so at this past Tuesday's Select Board meeting, we agreed unanimously that we would meet on September 24th, and we would vote to eliminate the special town meeting on this topic. And it's really all about allowing us to find out the SJC's decision relative to the Milton case, which
Right.
Ben thinks is probably going to be no later than February, maybe a little earlier. So,
Although one cannot predict when a court's going to rule.
right, yes, agreed.
I think the term is postpone, not eliminate, right?
Yeah, no, I was going to say take down or postpone.
I think it's postpone with the
I'm not-
language I've heard, so.
I'm not even sure we're postponing
No,
the
we're
special meeting.
eliminating
we're
it, and then
taking
we
it
would take it up
down.
Okay.
at
For
the
this in
regular
favor.
town meeting.
Here's the right language.
I don't know what your motion said and how it was written at the select board meeting, but I would presume you're not proposing to push off a special meeting, but rather to just simply take this up in the spring, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was this the only proposed warrant article?
I'm sorry, to propose what?
Warrant article
For the special
for the
town
special
meeting.
town meeting?
There were a couple other things on, but
Yeah, they haven't opened the warrant yet,
Okay.
so they don't know what would be put on. This was the main thing.
Well, because my understanding was we just weren't going to have a special town meeting. Is that
Right.
right? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
and
There won't be any other
There won't
warrant.
be any other warrant articles then.
if 3A's not on the topic and they've got other things, nobody's going to show up.
Oh, for a
That's
special
correct.
town meeting in the
Yeah.
fall. Yeah,
So-
yeah, yeah. No, I understand that.
So I believe oral argument is October 7? Is that right?
We're 6th.
Or 6th?
One of those dates. I don't
First week of
remember.
October.
I think it's
Yeah.
7th.
Yeah. And I know for the appeals court, they have sort of a guideline that to expect a decision within 130 days after oral argument. I don't know if that's going to apply for the SJC. The other thing is, they may decide this faster because they know that there are deadlines that other towns are facing, or that many towns are facing, I should say. So,
Right, although there are constitutional questions that have been raised, right?
in the lawsuit?
Yeah, weren't there?
Well, I mean, there's the ultra vires argument that it was
That's not
beyond the,
close.
right, I'm trying to think if there's actually a constitutional argument.
I haven't read the mail.
Not in
I
that one.
don't,
There's
I
a
don't
s-
think that there's a
isn't?
constitutional
Okay.
argument,
There's the Rockport
It was the
one is
Rockport one, yeah,
a due process.
which is dismissed.
right. And they don't have any due process about the guidelines in this one? Not being
Not
properly
under the
promulgated?
Constitution. The question
Oh, I
is whether
see.
the guidelines were
Where
properly
it's administrative,
promulgated.
yeah, okay. All right, so where we are then is, we have this draft zoning bylaw that we've been working on. We have no more rushed deadline or the need for a public hearing on it on September 26th.
The public hearing is being advertised anyway. I had to send it in.
So we're still going to have a public hearing on the bylaw,
Well, it's
the
up to
draft
you.
bylaw?
It's
I
up to
think,
you if
I
you
think
wanna
we
cancel
can,
it.
I mean,
But I think you wouldn't know until so when are you meeting for the select board? The
24th.
Yes.
So you would know the 24th whether there will be even a town meeting, and if there isn't, then you would.
You had a straw poll. What would happen to change anyone's mind between now
Nothing.
and September 24th?
Nothing. It was unanimous.
So I think,
It's like common sense.
I think it makes
We
sense.
could take more time with this zoning bylaw, honestly.
Well,
Well, I think my recommendation might be to table it until the SJC rulings come out and let us focus on other business at hand during that period.
Take more time with it.
That another way of saying it?
Well,
well,
if we have the hearing on it, and then
And then we change
and we
it.
don't act on it, I guess if there's no town meeting, then 48 doesn't kick in.
I'll tell you what's going to happen.
I just don't
if-
think there's
if-
any upside
if
to
you-
having the public hearing.
Correct.
right.
Because I'll tell you what's going to happen at that public hearing.
This is going to be pitchforks.
That's what we had the other day,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
We've already
It
had,
was
We've had them
pitchforks.
too.
we've already had pitchforks. I mean, we've had pitchforks.
Yes, we have.
Well, so,
That's exactly what I
But
just did.
if I could say, not very kind statements. We're doing the best we can here. But
Yep.
anyway.
You guys have,
Well, can I
By the way,
just say that
can I just?
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I do want to say that every member of the select board very much respects all the work that you've done to date to classify,
Well, thank you. Thank them.
Thank you.
or to be in compliance.
Yep.
So, we've spent a lot of time on this, so let me just say briefly that I think that what we have proposed so far in the draft zoning bylaw and with the two districts is the best that we could have hoped for, working with guidelines as they exist now.
Correct.
And I would have recommended this bylaw go to the select board for a warrant if we were going to have a special town meeting. However, I think the select board's position is correct. I think we should wait until there is a decision in the Milton case so we know what the parameters are that we have to deal with, because this thing could very well change. And it could change drastically.
I don't disagree with that, but I also think, and I think, I don't want to speak for anyone else on the board, but I think this decision had to be made by the select board. So I'm appreciating the fact that the select board thought this through.
so
I mean, it's the same decision that Hamilton's taken.
it's totally
But
different than
that's-
Hamilton.
No, it's completely different than Hamilton's, because we've put a lot of work into it. We have a plan, we have a way of attacking the problem. We're ready to go, and they have just simply said no, right? So, or have decided that the way to approach this problem is through the back door by doing a different kind of zoning change. And as a co-benefit of that, getting the compliance that they need. I am still not clear which of the strategies of those two strategies they've actually made a decision to pursue, but anyway,
I take it back.
I think in this situation, we've done what we can do. We've put it forward. We've stated our position. We have said this is up for the people to decide how to proceed. The right way to do it is through a vote. If we have a special town meeting, the select board is like, wait a sec, we think it's premature because the SJC is about to decide this case. Great, that's a select board decision, and I'm glad you made a decision one way or the other, because I think that's important. And it gives us some time to make sure that we got the details right in here, because I think we were kind of rushing it there at the end there. With is it a 40-foot buffer or a 50-foot buffer?
I don't think you can say we rushed this, because we've had 4 or 5 meetings on this
No,
draft
I don't,
bylaw.
and I don't mean rush it, but we had 4 or 5 meetings in a 6-week period.
Right.
Or 8-week period.
Well,
That's,
yes,
You know,
which
that's
means
many
we-
more meetings than we would typically have in order to get this ready in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that I'm 100% comfortable that we hit all the nails on the head.
No, but I don't think that you ever can hit all the nails on the head. What I would say about this is I think we have done a tremendous amount of work on this. However the lawsuit turns out with Milton, and whatever guidance we get, we're in a position now where the hay is in the barn. So if we need to pull it out
act, we
later,
can.
it's ready. I don't know what else there really is for us to do. And I do think, I don't think that there's any controversy about this. I think both boards are in agreement, and the public should know this, that I think we are all in agreement on the select board and the planning board that ultimately this decision is going to be made by the town by a vote at town meeting. It is not going to be by the 5 of us here, and it's not going to be by the 5 select board members.
That was actually one of the big points we had to make to the crowd, the Pitchfork
Yep.
people.
Yeah.
Is that we're not making a recommendation, we're just putting something
On the brakes, just putting the brakes on.
and let people vote on it.
Right.
That's my whole thing, is that what all we're doing is we're just getting it ready for the town to make their decision.
Right.
I
However
will
long that
say-
takes, it takes.
I will say, when I look at the statute and the guidelines, and I think if we had to try to implement the statute without some sort of guidance like we've gotten, a lot more density would have ended up in the downtown area, however we define downtown or village.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, 15 units per acre.
Well, but it says a district of reasonable size, right? So what is reasonable size? I mean,
For Wenham.
why couldn't we say in Wenham that for us, we only have half a train station or 40% of a train station anyway? So why wouldn't 1 acre or 2 acres be a district of reasonable size?
Still
And
be
then,
15 units per acre.
well, but that's
I
only,
think what
but that's
people
only
were-
30 units is what I'm saying.
Oh, I
Right
see
now,
what you're saying.
right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
we've
yeah.
got
You
80
360 or something.
based on guidelines that we don't really know how that, well, we can figure out how it was developed, but
Fair.
it's in the lawsuit. It's being challenged in the lawsuit. So
Fair.
let's see how it turns out.
Yes, no, I get that, but I'm just saying, we were able to think about, okay, less density in the downtown area than we would have absent that. Less density in terms of units per acre in the downtown area. And we don't know what reasonable size means. They define an area half a mile from the train station, so
Well, one of the
one argument would be that that's the defined area. So I feel like, I do think that the uncertainty of the SJC decision hanging out there, and I'm going to be interested in, I may even try to go to those oral arguments, be really interested in seeing where we end up with this. And whether what gets thrown out is the guideline and not the statute, because then we're all trying to figure out what reasonable means.
well, I'm not sure how you can't throw out the statute. I don't think.
Well,
But
no,
we've got-
because
On the
it's not,
statute.
What?
There's no attack.
There's
on
no-
the
no
right.
statute, it's just the
So
guideline.
I mean, one of the issues that's
I'm
also
still
four
thinking about,
paragraphs.
I'm still thinking about Rockport.
One of the issues that's front and center in the lawsuit is the test that EOHLC used to determine what reasonable size was. And in fact, Wenham was mentioned in the briefs by the town of Milton, because there's a land area test and there's a unit capacity test.
Right.
And the question
And
is,
a population
is that,
test.
is that itself reasonable? And that's what we need guidance from the SJC on, because in small towns like ours, 25% of our housing stock is a big number. So.
Oh, yeah. And I've always thought we should be, if we were anything, under the guidelines, if they continue to exist, we'd be an adjacent small town and not in the classification that we got, but
Yep.
we're short. We have too much of one thing and not enough of another,
So let me just make a quick comment if I could. So I agree that we did a lot to evaluate a strategy that would be in compliance under the guidelines. So there couldn't be more done on that point. But one of the most disappointing parts of the process was continuing to hear from town council that we were fundamentally limited by bylaws that no longer reflect what this town is aiming to look like under the master plan, which is the best sense of the community that we have at this time. And so, I don't want to be too dramatic, but I don't think I would ever vote to approve what we came up with. Because if zoning is about the highest and best use of our town's resources for the benefit of the community, the proposition was never made to me that voting for those districts would fulfill that proposition.
right.
And so the hay can sit in the barn, but that doesn't mean that the hay's any good and should be fed to the animals. We have a lot of work. If this is going to come back in front of the town in 8 months at annual town meeting, is it too audacious to say that in the next 4 months we prioritize what we talked about with Kate early on, which is figuring out the transformational land use vision that we have for this town and revising the zoning bylaws and the subdivision rules and regs so that we don't have to operate from yesterday's rules as we contemplate housing development for the future.
Yeah, I think that some sort of mapping exercise and prioritization of eventual zoning bylaw changes is not a bad idea. I think the idea we could get that all done before an April town meeting is not realistic.
Can I
I
ask
think
a
the
clarifying
subdivision-
question to Dave?
Yeah.
So when you say we're bound by old rules or bylaws or what are you referring to? Our
the
current
subdivision
zoning
and
bylaw?
zoning.
Because I don't see how that plays into what we had to do with MBTA. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that I don't think any one of us on this board would have come up with the plan that we proposed if we had our choice.
have to.
And the whole frustration of this exercise is we didn't have a choice. We're being told it's mandated, which is why these scenarios came up. And I think we came up with scenarios that were the best for the town that we could have. But I'm trying to understand what this point is.
So, the conversations I recall with Robin was like, nope, you don't regulate any other building, any other land use in that manner right now, so you can't do that with this. You don't do that anywhere else in town, so you can't do that.
You'll be
You can't do this, you
the
can't do that. We're not going to
EOHC
get
or
into
whatever
compliance
we'll
with
throw
the
you out.
HLC. The message I took away from that is if that were across the board, we would be in a better position to apply those to what could possibly be up to 25% of our future housing stock, or 20% once you do the math. So,
But the practical problem with that is if we're going to make wholesale changes to our zoning bylaw, that's got to go to town meeting and be approved by a 2/3 vote, and that's not
Correct.
going to happen
Between
before
now
now
and
and
spring.
town meeting.
That's my point.
that's totally reasonable, but what's the alternative? An even bleaker
Well-
future, even if the SJC says that the guidelines are legit and the whole thing goes forward. Personally, I would rather sit out a year of funding we don't even get.
Right.
And adopt the zoning bylaws we want and the other rules and regs and whatnot, and then come back with the district that we want, as opposed to saying, we're going to adopt this and put it on the books with a 2/3 requirement to repeal of a district that we don't want. That's bad hay.
I mean,
Yeah, and I didn't recommend that we feed the hay to the animals, to use your
you're very rural. You've been
imagery.
here long enough now that you're picking
I'm a gentleman
it up.
farmer.
But we
Yeah.
have done a tremendous amount of work, and we're in to, not to jump on this Hamilton point, Peter, but I think we are in a much different position, and I think in a much better position because of the work that we've done on this
Oh, yeah,
board.
absolutely.
We're also in a better position, Dan, may I add, because we have that master plan document that was bubbled up from the ground. It was approved by the town, it was approved by the select board, and it was filed with the Commonwealth. So they should know exactly what we've been doing in the past if they want to get really crazy about us. And I think we should stick with, as much as we can, stick with that, that vision that the town has. And this is in conflict with that vision.
Yeah, well, look, a really important part of the litigation right now that I want to see elaborated on by the SJC is what are the consequences if you don't comply?
Right.
What is the enforcement authority of the AG, and what are these penalties, and how many grant problems? Because if it remains that, or if it becomes clear that it's only these 4 things and we don't take any of that money, then
We're good.
this thing
Don't
is
take
not
any
likely
of-
to get a recommendation from this
Take any
board.
of that money
Yeah.
now.
Well,
But
So I just think this is a future-looking thing.
no, I know, that's
I
why
don't disagree
I just
with
want to
what
see the
you're saying,
guidance
I
on
just think
the
we need to-
enforcement and the compliance issues. That's what I
Yeah.
want to see
Yeah.
from the decision.
I do celebrate what this board did, and I won't belabor the point, but I found the Hamilton joint meeting to be extremely disrespectful across 2 public boards. That in the context of that joint meeting, we were essentially criticized and grilled by another planning board that has had to confront the same questions and the same public input, that they would turn on us and direct their ire at us. I found to be extremely disrespectful.
Here, here.
I don't disagree with that.
Now, we have a bylaw that if you change a few things, depending on how the SJC comes out, could be a bylaw, and I'm talking specifically about density and other considerations, that's plug and play. And by the way, I'm not stating my disapproval of this multifamily housing district because some people up by the train station or otherwise don't want it. I'm thinking about it from West Wenham all the way out to 128. Is this the best use of our community resources for the community? I don't think the district as drawn up was, but our hands were tied on that. But we could make some changes and pretty quickly fulfill the sense of the community as expressed in the master plan. And I celebrate this board for having done that work. I think it was a courageous thing to do.
And what you're thinking of, I think, is the mixed-use component of
Correct.
this. Yeah. And I just want to say, I appreciate the fact that we have done what we needed to do, and we have clean hands. We're not in a position to, nor should we, challenge the state. Others have the resources to do that. We have done what we can do. We've done a good job. I completely appreciate all the work that you have put into this. This is one of those situations where, and I know we've all confronted this, where you put a lot of effort into something and it feels like, oh man, I put so much effort into that. Why am I not able to do anything with it? And the answer is because maybe it's the right thing to do to wait.
I don't feel that way at all.
Good.
But
Glad to hear
I
it.
feel.
I do know what that feels like.
I feel like, look, we've done the work. I just don't feel like the timing is right, and we can table it, and if we need to pull it back out, we can pull it back out at that time when the time is correct. But let's not hurt ourselves by patting ourselves on the back right now. This is what we signed up for, and this is what we did. Can I just note that we do have an audience member, and I have a feeling that it may be for one of the email submissions. So since we're on this
Sure.
agenda item, should we?
We can. I want just one more piece of background.
Yep.
We also have a memo from Margaret on comments that she received from somebody in the state planning consulting.
So from our last meeting, you gave me the okay to go ahead and talk to someone from MAPC.
Yeah.
And I did, and she simply looked at our compliance model. And what we realized was, in order to get those numbers to work, we had to add back one parcel at Boulder Lane.
Out by 128.
Yep, out by 128. And what that did essentially was brought that final unit count number up to 366, which
Okay.
we were trying, remember we were trying to get it
Nice.
down as low as you can,
And
so
that's
we
the
ended up
only
going a
thing
little
she
too low.
found.
For our numbers, yes, to get our numbers. So, but we were able to keep the 13 units per acre up near the train station, and then we had to go up to 18 units per acre at Boulder Lane. And it's a little bit bigger area, but still the final unit count was only at 366 with all of those parcels.
Only 366.
We did try to plug in, and this I think might be to Mr. Haydock's question, but we plugged in the different buffers, and what we realized was the model itself does not take those into consideration when it gives you the summary and tells you what your final unit count is. So she did suggest that by expanding that buffer more than that 40 feet that you had suggested, it could impact those numbers. But that would be something that would have to be verified by the state. It's not something that we could do without going into a much more elaborate study of it. And I don't think we have the capability of doing that at the moment. But that was her
And
comment
it's
on that.
certainly, from what we've
expanded
heard,
buffer.
premature, so, okay. Did you want to say something?
Sure, yeah. My name's Charlie Haydock. I live at 3-1.
Oh, we got an email from you.
Yes, yeah, I was on the list for the email. And yeah, so I had been talking with Margaret a lot about the buffer. I saw the bylaws when they came out, the first draft, I think, in June, and reached out to Margaret, and Margaret's been very helpful throughout the process. But the initial bylaws had a 50-foot buffer. I had reached out and asked for a 100-foot buffer, which Margaret raised at the July Planning Board meeting, and then between that meeting and the August meeting, the new bylaws came out with a 40-foot buffer.
Right.
Which was concerning to me, and I asked a number of times for an explanation and hadn't received an explanation, and what I just heard was the best explanation I've received yet. But yeah, my concern really was, I'm an abutting property owner. There are 5 houses there that are more impacted by 3A than anyone else in this town. We were all concerned with the 50-foot buffer. We raised our concerns, and without explanation, saw the buffer go down.
We did have a discussion at the meeting here about the fact that the 100-foot buffer with town council when she was here would be deemed to be unreasonable. I think you heard the dialogue earlier about, will we be rejected, and does adding that amount of buffer allow us to do what we need to do within the constraints of height, so that you don't have to see it, no matter how big the buffer is. If it has to go tall, you're going to see it, right? So I think that was the conversation.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know, I may have missed that portion of the conversation, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, Mr. Haydock, I saw your email. Actually, I saw it for the first time 2 days ago.
Okay.
So I did not know that you had requested a meeting with me. I would have been happy to meet with you and to explain. I know you referenced comments that I made in one of our meetings. So we talked about the buffer issue in, I think, at least 2 meetings, maybe more than 2 meetings. And the issue was when the 100-foot came in for the first time, you just heard the margins that we're talking about with, we have to hit 365 units to satisfy the guidelines. So if we chew up too much of the lots with expanded buffers, it would potentially diminish the capacity, the number of units that you could put on that. So if I'm remembering this right, we had a 50-foot buffer discussion. Town council was here. We don't have a 50-foot buffer anywhere else. The regular buffer, or setback, I think, was 20 feet.
Right.
So what we discussed was, we want to have an expanded setback and buffer, but we want it to be reasonable, and that's how we settled on, let's double the regular setback buffer. So
Right.
that's how we got there.
I
We
think
did know that there were concerns from the abutters. It's just, we have to bring something in that's going to actually meet the guidelines. That's
No, and
how
I understand that. I appreciate that. I understand. I've read 3A. I've read the guidelines. Not a lot of it makes sense. And that's
Well,
fine. I understand the position you guys are in.
And when you think about a building envelope, you're either squishing it in and going up, or you're making it a little lower so it doesn't have the bulk of something that's
Yeah.
that much more than a residence would be, right?
I guess what I would say is I still feel confident there is a way, especially when you think about the fact that the front edge of the lot abuts a parking lot now. I think there's probably a way we could reduce
Well, yeah, a
that
rear
problem.
buffer was the only
The
thing we
rear
were
buffer
really
and-
talking
and-
about
and
anyway.
side, and I think one of the sides too. But it seems like there's a way we could reduce the buffer elsewhere, get creative. It sounds like we have some time now to then increase the rear and side buffer against residential properties. So it's-
Yeah.
We definitely have time now.
Okay, yeah,
We
I'm
definitely
happy to
have
work with you
time.
guys.
You go fast.
We
When we talk about our
definitely, yeah, because
antiquated
it's
zoning
that time
laws,
of
this is
year.
what- the need for us to review all of our zoning laws, that's really, it's all in line. Like, we can't even require that this building be LEED certified at any level. So why are we worrying about the environment then? So they're not worried about the environment, right? So there's a lot of problems with the law, but there's also underlying zoning that we don't have yet.
Yeah, so that was it.
Okay, thank
Please,
you.
I'm happy to talk more at any point.
And
We appreciate the reasonableness of your comments and your patience in waiting to give them.
Thank you.
so we all have town emails. If you want to reach out to us directly, you can do that.
Yes.
It's our first initial.
Last name at wenhamma.gov.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we go to minutes?
I think we need to.
Do we need to, we don't need to do the
Courtney
Ashwood's email.
I don't know if anybody
Online.
online
Board
is
answer that?
here
By
for
the way,
that.
There's a Q&A document that we created that's on the website.
exactly, on the planning board website.
Are we comfortable with that? Do we want to leave it there? Do we want to take it down?
I don't know if anyone who's online has any questions about this.
I asked for hands to be displayed. Are there any hands?
Nope.
The other thing I wanted to appreciate the amount of work you put into this, not only in like the bylaws we were discussing, but also the response to some of the emails that have come in. You've written some nice responses and the Q&A.
Thank you.
Appreciate all that.
Yeah, I got an email directly from a resident, she was at one of our meetings,
Yeah,
Ms. Gajewski,
Oh, yeah.
and responded to her about, it had to do with the question of unlimited bedrooms, unlimited units that
Right.
came up at the
Which is,
June forum and at the joint meeting with Hamilton. So that's what that correspondence was about.
okay. Can we go to meeting minutes since it's 8:30?
I have them up on the screen too,
And-
and you know, the dates on the agenda are off, so I don't have the 8:21 minutes yet. So,
Okay.
but we do have to do the 8:08 and 8:14, so we're just pushing those ones
As I was
over.
saying, we met quite a lot in August.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did.
So much for some.
I've already been through these, so
You people.
I'm not going to have any comments other than what I've already put into the red lines.
Which I also appreciated. I will say that, we're not there yet. We're on August 8th, right?
Yeah.
The minutes on this are pretty general. We couldn't have answered that 40-foot buffer question from looking at this one anyway. I don't know if we picked it, if that conversation was on the 21st, maybe. I guess it must have been.
I think it was.
I think it was. Okay. All right, I would move to accept the August 8th minute meetings as amended by the red lines in front of us.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Pascarello, aye.
Aye. Okay, check. Now 8:14. There weren't minutes, from the site visit, right?
They're in eight.
Are they in they should be in
No,
8:14.
they're not on there. Catherine wasn't there, and I think I have to do those minutes. I didn't even
Okay,
consider
so
that.
are these
I
really
will
ready
have to
then
do
for
those.
us, or do we need to
Um,
add that?
Let's wait on them. Can we wait? And I'll draft
Sure.
up whatever would happen at
Yeah.
the site visit, and I'll add them to
Okay.
it.
That,
Do we, do you need to,
I do want to have one, I want to go back to the MBTA for 1 minute and just confirm that we are not going to have a public hearing on September 26th.
So do you want to cancel the public hearing? So I have sent out notices, but that's okay.
that was going to be my question. Do we have to vote? Or how do we do that?
Is there some
Say vote
period,
to cancel
can we
it.
do it the day the select, was an even, the day
You can
after the
wait.
select board votes?
Yeah, I mean, you can always cancel a meeting.
mind.
I know that, but I'm just wondering if there's any, if we have to cancel it,
Yeah.
48 hours in advance, or if there's some requirement like that that I don't know about.
I don't think there are any regulations. I mean, we've canceled meetings right up to the, the
last
day.
second.
Can't
Yeah.
we make a contingent motion right now?
We can, I just want to make sure that, if it's contingent on that, I mean, Margaret's not going to pull it down until the select board vote either way.
Yeah, I'll leave it up. The advertisement's going in the Salem News, no matter what. It's $800. But that's
Has it already
gonna,
gone in?
yeah.
W-
Today was the first.
In
Do we have to
Land
run it
today?
again?
I might be able to cancel next week's
Then it would only be $400, right?
I thought they were.
if you decide
Could she
to.
buy a? Oh, maybe not.
I mean, this is kind of extenuating circumstance.
Yeah,
It's not like we do this all the time.
There's not going to be a special town meeting, so
Right.
why don't we just, I would be ready to make a motion that says we cancel the public hearing
Contingent on the.
contingent on the select board's vote on September 24th, that there will be no special town meeting.
Second.
Okay. So
Want me to
and then
make a
on,
motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, I move that the planning board cancels the public hearing scheduled for September 26th on the condition that the select board on September 24th votes not to hold a special town meeting this fall.
Second.
All in favor?
Woodland, yes.
Aye.
Pascarello, aye.
Anderson, aye.
A lot of work.
so what,
And please try to pull back that second, if you can.
it's, the second advertisement runs before the 24th, though.
Yes, so we
Oh,
won't.
Just let it
contingent
run.
on.
So we'll put a sign on the door that night that it's been canceled.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll post it on the town's
Yeah.
website. So on the 24th, if they
Flashing
vote
sign maybe
to not
could
have
be-
it, then on the 25th, I'll put it on the town's website.
If you don't run two notices, it just means we wouldn't have met a notice requirement. So, which is fine for a public hearing that we're not going to hold.
Right?
Okay.
I think that the big lighted sign needs to say there is no public hearing on September 26th as soon as possible, which would be on September 24th, unfortunately.
Well, December 25th, I mean,
Or
September
25th.
25th.
25th, my wedding day.
Can we put something on the planning board website that is just sort of a
We have-
summary or bullet point about this? That based on the
We're on
expectation
hold.
that, based on the discussion at the September 10 select board meeting, the planning board does not anticipate holding a public hearing on September 26th. And we don't think.
Decision to be made by the select board on September 24th. Please tune into that meeting.
Yes.
Sorry.
Direct all questions to Peter Clay.
The only thought I had on the communication plan for this delay, postponement, whatever you want to call it, annulment, whatever communication, my only thing is about optics at this point, is that whatever's communicated becomes a joint communique from both the planning board and the select board.
Yeah.
Maybe from a neutral corner, like the town administrator announcing it that the planning, select board and the planning board have decided, blah, blah, blah. Just so that it looks like we're all together on this, which we are, but just that gets across to the town that we've talked about this and we're cool.
Okay, so I'll see if I can pull the advertisement for that's going on. So today was the first one, and next week is the next one. I'll have to try to contact them tomorrow and see if they'll pull it and not charge us for it. They already sent us the bill.
You should be able to pull you get a week notice to them, so.
Don't
Yeah,
fret
you
it,
wait to
don't
get your
fret
money
it.
back.
Don't fret it, it's not going to kill us.
Or don't.
Just let it, if it can't
Yeah,
work
so
out,
you're
don't.
right.
Pay for half of it or something.
Yes.
You can dock the select board if.
That's right.
So on the other items, may I say something really quick, 30 seconds?
You could have a whole minute.
Thank you. I want to volunteer something that I've been meaning to do for 5 years, because I am almost at 5 years, folks.
Are you really?
Time flies. Because it's unfair what we do with Margaret and frankly with the applicants as well. I'm less concerned about them because they have incentive to get it done. I want to draft up some submission guidelines for this board and present them to you all. And I don't know the legal effect of these. I don't know if you can say, you know,
The
if you don't
guidelines.
meet them, you know, they will not be considered by the board absent, you know, a showing of good cause at the discretion of the chair or something like that. Whatever, we'll figure that out. We should promulgate something in writing, that's a loaded word right now, in writing that says this is our expectation, so that, Margaret, you don't have to chase these folks down.
Don't,
You can just say,
So
this
we-
is the planning board's expectation.
don't we have
We do. You have your rules and
rules
regulations.
and regulations?
but
We can maybe
I don't think
amend
there's
them.
anything that meaty in them that
No, but
says.
there could be.
Yeah, there could be,
So-
absolutely.
Don't reinvent the wheel. I have appeared in front of a number of boards, or zoning boards or whatever, and other towns have
Have
these
this
in
there.
place. I can think,
Gonna see if we had any.
I know at one point I was in front of the Gloucester zoning board and they definitely had submission deadlines, so you might want to take a look there.
I'm gonna look at that and I'm gonna bring it to you all. Get on the agenda.
That would be great, and we can amend.
Spring Hill.
Nonsense.
No.
We need to have
No, that, yeah.
information submitted to the board in advance.
Right. And
I would
it
love that.
isn't, you're right, it isn't necessarily all on you, Margaret.
Yeah, I
They-
love that.
they need to know what the rules are because it's their interest
Yeah.
and their incentive.
Right. And if you can save money by not hiring your lawyer to do anything but speak for an hour, it's probably cheaper. So
There you go.
whether that's our issue or not is not, is not on the docket. It's, the question is, do we have enough information
turn,
to
Taylor?
make
Your
a
motion.
good decision?
Oh,
Are you ready?
I move that we adjourn the planning board meeting of Tuesday, what's today's date? Thursday, September 12th at 8:42 PM.
Reconvene on Thursday, October 10th.
Yeah, I will not be here for that meeting. I'll be away on vacation, going to Prague.
Nice. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Woodland.
Aye.
And I-
You're going to Prague?
Going to Prague.
I
I'm
am.
going to
Prague is
Paris.
such a
and I'm
cool
very
place.
excited.